Root is a scientific data analysis tool developed at CERN, and there are over an exabyte of data stored in root files around the world. Now, an exabyte is 1 billion gigabytes, so we're talking about a lot of data. So in this video, I'll be showing you how to read a root file. Root files are binary files, so they're not human readable, but with a few tools, we can get the data out of these files. I got these root files from the B5 GANT4 example. Now the first method we're going to use to read these root files is by using the root program that you can download for free on the root website. But at the end of this video, I'm going to show you a way that I prefer where you don't have to even install root, you just use Python to read the root files. But for now, we're going to install the root application from their website. So you go to root.cern and then click on install. Root is available on all different platforms. So we want to click on this download a precompiled binary distribution. So we need the dependencies and the release. For your platform, make sure you have the dependencies, and then you click on this button, click on the latest stable release, and then go down to your platform. Right now I'm on Windows, so I'm going to click on this, and it starts installing for me right here. Once this installer has downloaded successfully, just click on it to open it, and it will open the root installer. If you get this warning, just click run anyway. Now we get to this installation setup. Just click next on everything. I agree. It might take a few minutes for the entire root application to install because it's pretty big. So now that the root program is installed, we can actually double click on one of these files and it will open up for us. So if I double click on this b5.root file, when I double click it, it's actually going to pull up a browser window where I can view my histograms and things like that. So on the left is a little file explorer. And if I go to the folder I was working in, I can see the 4 histograms I have. The first one is this little 2D histogram. The second one is a little bar chart, and so on. Now, what if we want to export these files into PNG format or something like that? Well, if you go here to File and click Save as tcanvas1.png, you may think that worked, but root is a little bit weird. I'm not sure if it's a Windows thing or not, but if you double click on this, it does not open. So on Windows, there's a little workaround we can do. We can save the canvas as a .c file. Then we go to our little terminal window that popped up along with our GUI, and we do .x tcanvas1.c. This is going to run the root file itself. So I click enter, and now we have another little root window. Now on this root window, we can actually save it as a PNG, anything like that. So I'm going to do save as .png, go back to my folder, double click, and now it actually works. So if you're having problems with the root browser, I suggest saving it as a .c file. Use that .x command to run the C file and work on this other browser here. Another tip on this browser, you can edit the style. So click on Edit, Style, and then we have a style manager that pops up. So we can do any fun little style we want. If we click Apply, it looks different. So you can play around here and do whatever style you want, and then once you're done, you just save as a PNG, PDF, whatever you like. Now, one downside of this method of using root is you can't really export the data in other formats like CSV. There are ways to hack it using the C programming language and things, but it gets really complicated. So that's why I prefer to use the uproot library from Python whenever I want to get data out of my root files. So now we're going to be working with root using Python. I'm going to be using Jupyter Notebook, but you can use plain old Python. It doesn't really matter. So first things first, I'm going to create a new file. And then the first step is we need to install the uproot package. So I'm going to run pip install uproot. Enter. So since I already had it installed, it says requirement already satisfied. Now, quick note here, I don't actually need to install root to use this Python package, which is really useful. So first things first, I'm going to import uproot, and then we need to open our root file. So we do with uproot.open, and then the name of our file. b5.root as file. And just to test to make sure it's working, we can print out the keys of the file. So we do print file.keys. Enter. And these are the 4 keys we saw earlier, the 4 histograms. Another thing we can look at the file is the class names. So if I do print file.classnames, it will print out what type of graph each one is. So chamber 1 was a H1, a one-dimensional histogram, and then these 2 chambers were H2s, which were 2-dimensional histograms. Now something really nice we can do right off the bat is convert these files into NumPy arrays. And once we have them in NumPy arrays, we can do anything. We can plot them using matplotlib. We can save them as CSV data. So to convert these to NumPy arrays, we need to run the toNumPy command. So all we do is we define a variable. We're going to say chamber1, and then we're going to do file, and then index what key we want. So the key is called chamber1 semicolon 1, and then we're going to do .to underscore numpy. Run that. And then I guess we need to print it out just to test that we did it right. So we need to print chamber1. And here we have the histogram in the form of a NumPy array. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. If you don't have matplotlib installed, you can just run pip install matplotlib. But for now, I'm going to do from matplotlib import pyplot as plt. Then I want to plot this histogram. So I'm going to do plt.plot chamber1. And we only want to plot the first axis because it's a 2-dimensional NumPy array. And then we do plt.show, run this. And here we see matplotlib histogram that we made. Now just for fun, let's try it on one of the 2-dimensional histograms. So I'm going to go back to this code block here and save a variable containing one of these 2D histograms. So I'm going to do chamber2d equals file index this. So I can just copy and paste into this. And we'll do toNumPy. So now to plot it, we can do plt.imshow because that does a 2D color plot. And then we'll do chamber2d plt.show. Now I'm sure this is not going to work, but we can mess around until it does. Actually, I'm just going to ask ChatGPT how to do it. Okay, so here we have kind of the same histogram that we saw before with just a few points in the middle, but I just used matplotlib imshow. So as you can see, the sky is now the limit with what we can do with this root file now that we've imported it into Python. If you have any more questions, leave a comment down below. Now, if you want to see a follow-up video where I recreate this whole process using Docker to make the process reproducible so you don't have to remember each step we took, let me know. And that's all for this video. I'll see you next time.